Hey guys, and welcome back for another episode of Buzzing with Barca, the Barca Buzz podcast. And today here I have Sagnik and Kai joining me. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks a lot for having me. It's a first for me, but I look forward.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I'm
Kai.
doing well. I'm doing good.
Okay, and we have a lot of topics to cover today as usual, and we'll start with the 5-2 win against Real Betis at the Camp Nou. Display though there were some cracks. So, what are your thoughts on the win against Betis? And we'll start with you, Sagnik.
Yeah, so first of all, I would definitely like to put forward the fact that it was a pretty big scoreline, and of course, the fans were very happy, as was I. But certainly, it wasn't a perfect gameplay when it comes to the overall Barca play, especially the defense. 10-man Betis managed to score against our Barcelona defense. Now, while a La Liga team like Betis couldn't take much advantage of our somewhat crumbling system, I'm pretty sure the top teams of the UEFA Champions League would definitely use it to their advantages. Like, we did create a lot of chances, not very high in quantity, but some were high in quality. But we couldn't seem to finish it. Whether it be a lack of confidence for Griezmann or a general disorientation of the team, we couldn't really convert all the possible chances into goals, which again, on a stage like La Liga, we could capitalize on it. But I'm pretty sure the top teams in the world, like Liverpool and Bayern, could definitely use it to their advantage.
Yeah. And Kai, what are your
Well,
thoughts?
I would join Sagnik on the sense that the scoreline was encouraging because, as I said before on the last podcast, I said that we needed this sort of confidence and these goals in order, to say, well, we're not giving up, we're coming forward. So that was great. And once again, I would join the Sagnik on the fact that it was far from a perfect display. You could see that the defense was crumbling, and not only just defensively because of Roberto and PK failing to go to really defend, but on the fact that our midfield really needed improvement because at the beginning it seemed to me like we did slowly improve. However, it's still very insufficient when you saw at times that Betis was still doing better than us in the midfield. And especially, I felt that the system of, especially on the left wing, they could very much, their fullback, their winger, and finally their media punta could very much connect without Roberto or PK managing to actually stop them. So I felt that it's a great win, don't get me wrong, but there's still a lot, there's a lot to improve. So that's my thoughts. I thought it was a mitigated win.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Even though it was a win, the scoreline kind of tells us a different story than the game. I feel like we struggled throughout the periods, especially at the start of the second half. When Messi still got the goals and he did create chances, we still struggled because, especially defensively, Real Betis tended to attack our right hand side and pinpointed Roberto's defensive inabilities. So defensively, we still have a lot of work to do, but a win is a win, and we'll move on with that. And now our topic will be on Koeman's task for the international break. As you know, the international break is approaching, but this will also give Koeman some time to realize what he needs to change in the team and whatnot. So we'll start with you, Kai. What do you think Koeman needs to prioritize throughout this break?
Once again, I've said it many times on the previous episodes, but the thing is, to me, there's still this problem of lack of the midfield, and especially, I don't feel like there's a particular plan when going forward. When we get the ball, I don't feel that there's a particular structure where Koeman tells X goes there, for example, Messi go there and Dembele go there. It feels more as if we just generally try to go forward and almost walk over the midfield. And to me, I still want to see a sort of change because we're only seeing a plan A and not a plan B. And to me, this plan B will be important once we get into advanced stages where, for example, let's say we're 2-1 down and Koeman needs to react. because that's what we're missing from Koeman. We're missing this reaction time where he chooses to have another plan, because we've never seen that plan. So for me, that's what he has to work on.
Yeah, exactly. And under Valverde for a long time, we can assess Setien because he was only for, let's say, 4 or 5 months. But under Valverde, we saw that the team, sat back, kind of took all the pressure and then counterattacked, through the narrow channels or even out wide when we played players like Malcolm and even Dembele. But yeah, under Koeman, when we have possession, we don't have an idea of what to do. We just give the ball to Messi and expect him to do something. And yeah, what are your thoughts on this topic, Sagne?
Yeah, so definitely, as Kai said, a team needs to have a primary kind of attacking approach and a contingency in case it doesn't work. Under Koeman, what I've been observing all these matches is like he doesn't really have a plan A or plan B, as Kai said. All he does basically is put good attacking players in the penalty box or near it and let them do the thinking, like adaptation, instantaneous adaptation. So we've seen it works against some teams and sometimes it really doesn't, as in the Madrid match, and it's not a real strategy, so he should have one ready through the 3-week international break. Another thing I would like to put forward is that all this time he probably had in mind that Coutinho being injured, he would be back after the international break. He would have a recovery. Now, on the other hand, he has the injury of Ansu Fati to think about. Like, no one really knows how severe it is. It's a meniscus tear, and I read that one of their doctors said that it could take anywhere from a few weeks if it's not a surgery, and if it is a surgery, it may take from 2 to 3 months. So we also have the forward situation to think about. Like, Fati is a really promising talent in our team, and he plays pretty much a pivotal role when it comes to goal scoring. Like, he is an expected goal scorer, so without him, I think he has a lot to think about his attacking approach. I think he needs to put more thinking into what the midfield does in terms of creating chances, and the instantaneous adaptation thing, I think, will improve a lot as the team practices and gets to know each other, gets comfortable with each other. But I hardly think it is a strategy to rely full time on.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. We'll get onto Fati's absence later on, as it is, a separate topic. But in the meanwhile, we'll move on to how Messi kind of came to the rescue again. Going into halftime, we were, at 1-1. It was a draw. But when Messi came on, it seemed like there is life again in this Barca team. He created chances. He was at the center of every play. He was just pivotal again in front of goal, and for us to get this win. And we'll start with you, Kai. What do you think of Messi's cameo in the second half?
I definitely think that it was the really game-changing substitution, because you could see we were struggling in the first half to really get the goals. We had the chances, but we didn't score. And at times you could feel that against their sort of low block, which wasn't exactly a low block, but their sort of defensive approach, sometimes we moved the ball aimlessly, it seemed. And with Messi, you could see that directly from, I think, 3 minutes in the game, we already scored, which tells you how important he arrived. There was this element, which I hope to see more, of saying, say, Messi, you bench him for 45 minutes, and then you bring him on, because he's this factor that when he plays, the team just feels more confident. So I definitely think that this was the right thing to do. I definitely think that it changed the game, and I hope to see this sort of substitution with Messi much more, because I think it was still quite a good idea to bench him in the first half.
Yeah. And you, Sagne, what do you feel like? What impact did Messi have, and what can you conclude from that?
Yeah, it's pretty reassuring for me that Messi gained back his form. First of all, he scored goals, and Messi is a phenomenal player. I think anyone would agree on that. And many people have said that many eminent people have said that put him in any role, he'll be the best in that role. And his vision, in my opinion, is unparalleled. he does thinking on field. He thinks 3 or 4 steps ahead, and when it comes to creating chances or finishing chances, there are very few players who come close to his level. And it was pretty evident on the field yesterday that as soon as he came on the field, he, even without touching the ball, he let Barcelona score a goal. When we talk about that dummy he did, which Griezmann finished, yeah, he drew the defender. He drew the defenders and goalkeepers towards himself, and then he performed a dummy, which even gave Griezmann confidence, which he probably needed. But talking about Griezmann later, Messi has always been a pivotal role of the Barcelona squad and continues to be the same even today.
Yeah, definitely. He gave the Barcelona team some confidence when they seemed like they were crumbling to Betis's pressure. He even, produced a phenomenal assist and a thumping goal. It was nearly like a rocket and at a tight angle as well. And, he continued to show that don't doubt Messi because he'll come and, prove you wrong again. And now we'll move on to the breaking news really in the past 24 hours. Ansu Fati's injury. Apparently he has a tear in I believe his meniscus in his knee, and there are reports saying that if he does undergo the surgery, he will be out for nearly 3 to 5 months, or he will have to have some kind of stitching, and that will keep him out for nearly a month as well. So what do you guys think of this latest development of Ansu Fati's injury, and how do you think this will impact the team? And we'll start with you, Sagni.
Yeah, so it's a very bad news for Ansu Fati. It's his first major setback in his professional career, which I'm sure will be a legendary one. But right now, all we can do is hope for the best, that he doesn't require surgery. We all are, of course, with him. But in this moment, there's a 3-week international break, which will allow Koeman, which is actually a blessing for Koeman, because he gets time to think and rethink again about what he's going to do with the team without Ansu Fati. Because he is, as I've said before, one of our trusted goal scorers, one of our goal machines, if you may. And definitely his absence will be noticed on the field, in my opinion. But then again, there are 3 weeks for Ronald Koeman to think about how to cope up with this absence of the young superstar that is Ansu Fati.
Yeah. And you, Kai,
Well,
what are your thoughts?
yeah, as our John signing on the fact that he was one of our goal scorers, and more importantly, he was really one of those who really kept a sort of unpredictability in our squad. Because we've seen a lot of times when we're on the ball, we can see a lot of times that we can predict very much our play. And I think that Fati was one of those who actually wasn't, because you could never really know what he'd do, because he's often go for the goal and eventually score. And now the question is how to replace him, because I think that the normal 11, starting 11 that Koeman wanted to have included Fati on the left, with Coutinho in the center, etc. And the thing is, now he doesn't have Ansu, and he doesn't even know for how long. And yes, he has 3 weeks, but you have to really, you cannot change the habits this quick, which is the quick problem, because I think that probably his teammates we're slowly getting used to Ansu Fati on the pitch, and now, well, he's not there anymore. So that's gonna be the thing. How he's going to do? Is he going to change his system? Perhaps is he going to put Conrad instead, who could get a chance, or will it be what I think will happen, and we'll come back to that later, with Pedri and Coutinho replacing him on the left? That's the question, and I'm very surprised to see, because it will be tested if Koeman really thought about it when we play against Atletico, who's no mere opponent. So that's why I think that it will be very important to see how exactly we will balance out his injury in terms of the width he brings, but also in terms of goals.
Yeah, totally agree with you guys. Ansu offers us a lot to this team, especially this season. Yeah, and going into this season, we knew it was going to be tough, especially with the lack of a sporting project. Messi's, he wanted to leave, but he's still here. And now these pivotal injuries to our crucial players. And, now we are playing Atletico Madrid as well. But I feel like maybe, just maybe, this will allow Koeman to have some flexibility, try something new, which we'll discuss on later. And I guess we'll just have to see. And now we'll move on to the topic of Alenia, Firpo, and Braithwaite. What's going to happen with them? Of course, they're, considering players like Ricky Puig, even though they are amazing players, they are low in the pecking order, and Alenia, Firpo, and Braithwaite are on top, but still they aren't getting a lot of playtime. So, could this mean that they'll be shipped out in the January transfer market? What are your thoughts, Kai?
Well, once again, I want to point out on Alenia because pretty much everyone knows how much of a fan I am to him. But the point is that once again, we're in the middle of a temporary board, which means that this board is not supposed to take decisions which could affect our future. I'm not talking only about Alenia, but also about Firpo. Firpo is already at his second season, if I'm not wrong. And he still barely has played any games. I think barely 3 or 4. And to me, that is the problem. How do you expect, when you pay 30 million for a signing, around 30 million, I think it was 26 plus 3 million, how do you expect him to show anything if you don't give him playtime? And particularly when you consider that actually we need a left back, because yes, Alba is great, yes, he can do runs, but he does need replacement at some point. And normally, I would assume that if you bring Firpo in, that means you're going to use him. And the problem is, we barely have done that. So my question to me is like, if you're going to sell him, why did you buy him in the first place? What went wrong from the inside club? Because if they sell him, it's that they're saying, we're not counting on you. Now my question is, why wouldn't you count on him anymore? Considering Braithwaite, I think there's a possibility because, as we said, in earlier podcast, he was never supposed to be a long-term solution. He was only there temporarily because of the prevailing injuries we had in the squad. And to me, it's still a surprise we didn't sell him this summer. And it doesn't seem like Koeman cares in any way about Braithwaite. He has been getting a few minutes, but it's nowhere near enough for his age. So I think there's a possibility. But once again, whether it be on Alenia, Firpo, Braithwaite, or anyone, I don't think this temporary board of Tusquets should actually do that. To me, it remains that we should first elect a new board and then let them, if we're in time, do this transfer window, or then go all out in the summer transfer window. So to me, it just don't decide on this transfer. I don't care which transfer it is, just not this board.
And Sagnik, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, it's definitely heartbreaking to see such talents getting almost wasted at this club. Like, they are getting subbed in, but at 83rd, 82nd minutes. So that's not really enough for them to prove themselves. Even in that time, Alenia has had a better passing heat map than Griezmann in a match. Overlooking that. Anyway, I do agree with Kai that the transfers are a big thing, not just in a short-term one-season outlook. It's in a long-term outlook. We need younger players because the club depends on them in the future. Like right now, Barcelona is at a financial low point, so we need to take very wise decisions, not only regarding current seasons, but for 4 or 5 seasons ahead. So definitely they are sensitive subjects and very crucial subjects to be thought about, and regarding transfers, and definitely a proper elected board should do it. And also none of us really know what is going on inside Koeman's head, or why he isn't giving minutes to Puig or Alina or Braithwaite. Braithwaite has gotten the most minutes out of all of these players, which we've mentioned. But yeah, we don't really know what he has planned. But it will be interesting to say the least. But what I personally don't like is the careers of these phenomenal players getting negatively affected by his experimentations.
Yeah, I share the same viewpoints as all of you do. Firpo, he does have some potential. I'm not sure if he's, the right one for Barca, but he hasn't even gotten a chance, And then Alenia, it's just shame to see him, rot on the bench. I feel like he could be utilized and, even be a starter later on the season. And then Braithwaite, I don't think that he is, the long-term solution. I don't think that he is, the quality of Barca
Definitely.
striker like a Luis Suarez or anyone. But yeah, I guess a person like Victor Font or Juan Laporta will have to deal with these situations, and I hope that they do. And this topic has come to a conclusion, and we'll go on to Griezmann's missed penalty. Even though he had multiple chances which he had missed in the first half, he got a penalty, and that penalty was meant to give him some confidence and rejuvenate his start to the season with Barca. But he failed that task as well. He took the penalty was quite terrible. But even though he scored, that penalty kind of tells everyone about his confidence levels. And what do you guys think about it? And we'll start with you, Kai.
Oh well. So first thing, why do I always have to talk about Griezmann every second episode? That's the first thing. It's becoming annoying at this point. The good thing is it's not the same topic. This time it's a penalty. So the first thing is, at first I was like, what the actual hell is going? And secondly, it reminded me a lot on Coutinho. I remember when Coutinho was low on confidence, Messi gave him the penalty. Now the difference is that Coutinho scored, Griezmann didn't. Which the problem is when, as you said, the penalty is supposed to give confidence. Now if he misses this penalty, like it was in Griezmann's case, it makes things even worse. It's going from bad to worse to even worse. I don't even have the words to describe this anymore. And I was seriously very glad that he actually scored at the end, because I definitely think that if he wouldn't have scored this so-called assist by Messi, his confidence would go lower than the hell is probably. So once again, I really hope. The good thing is that Griezmann did overall pretty well in terms of link-up play, in terms of involvement, in terms of touches, but he still lacks that end product, because that's what we needed. Because once again, else and Messi, and now with Ansu injured, you need that one goal scorer, or at least a lot of individuals scoring a few goals. And normally, when you have a signing of 120 million, you expect him to finish those chances. So I would say that it does feel a bit better, but he needs to confirm, because that's good, it's on the right path, but it's far from enough.
Yeah, he clearly had a better game than he usually does, and he got more chances, got into better positions. But yeah, he ends that end product, and even after he scored that first goal, and his first goal, and he was subbed off, you saw his face on the bench. He was not happy with himself. He lacked confidence. He looked like he just wanted to go home. And what do you have to say on this, Sagnik?
Yeah, first of all, Griezmann is definitely a sensitive and infuriating topic among fans these days. But definitely his history says a lot different than his current performance at Barcelona. So by all means, he's not a bad player as far as his historical performances are concerned. So definitely he has that potential, and Koeman is surely really stubborn when it comes to unlocking the same potential at Football Club Barcelona. And being a football player myself, it has happened many times on the field that sometimes players just start to have a bad season, and it gets even worse and worse and worse till they completely get childish misses, like what Griezmann is doing right now. These are really easy misses, which is definitely not expected from a 120 million player. So it is seen that all the teammates and even the coaches try to get a bad player back to his feet, to his former glory. So it was really nice to see Messi doing that dummy and literally spoon-feeding the goal to Griezmann. Regarding Griezmann's expression, after his goal, he did get emotional. He hugged Messi, literally jumped on him, and he almost cried. His face was worth watching, to say the least. But since he did get a goal, it's too early to say if he will be back to his former glory, because as I said, the goal was literally spoon-fed to him. If it was a post there instead of him, it would have been a goal. Messi could have done it himself, but
Yeah.
he decided to give Griezmann that boost of confidence, which he desperately needs right now. Regarding even all the misses he had were on his preferred left foot. So there are really are no excuses for missing them, but definitely I do also sympathize with a player of his caliber who has had such great performances in the past but is really struggling as any football player, not even considering our expectations, but any football player shouldn't miss the chances he did. But yeah, of course, I'll keep an open mind. We did get off at a strong point last match.
The timer for this round is
Yeah,
over
so let's move
because
on.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so let me just say the closing statement. Yeah, so even though he did miss a couple of, we feel sorry for him for missing those chances, but we'll see what happens with him, and we'll move on to the topic with Alba and Roberto's assists. We usually criticize them, or I usually heavily criticize either one of them. But last game, even though they did have to face great left backs and full backs from Real Betis, they managed to put some good work in the attacking area. And what are your thoughts? We'll start with you, Sagni.
Yeah, so Roberto and Alba, but fullbacks in general, have always played a crucial role at Barcelona. Our strategy revolves around them creating chances many times, and Roberto did create a beautiful chance last game. Sadly, he was offside, and I don't really have much good to say about Roberto's defensive capabilities, but
I can
when
agree.
when it comes to creating chances, Roberto is pretty much up there with the good players. And Alba is a really strong left back. He has had a good history at our club, but recently he has made repeated mistakes of the same kind. Not saying that he's a bad player by any means. It's just that he's been making same mistakes over and over, which good clubs in UCL qualifiers and etc. Good clubs can take advantage of that, and it's really going to be hazardous to our club if he continues to make the same mistakes.
Yeah, our fullbacks have kind of, in the recent debacles in the Champions League, our fullbacks have been the main issue, even though, it's evident to the rest of the world, even opponent clubs. Seems like our past president, Bartomeu, didn't realize that and only decided to bring in Dest to, try. But yeah, defensively, they're horrible. And I'm just praying to God for a new competent president to bring in some other players at those positions. And we'll move to Kai. What are your thoughts on their performances?
The first thing is, even though Alba did play okay, I still have to curse on him. The first reason is because, for God's sake, how many times will we do the same move? That's the first thing. The second thing is, sometimes you even fail to do this move, which then brings me even worse. So that's about it, about Alba, because basically it's obvious that he gets involved because literally almost our attacks are on the left side. So the good thing about Alba is that because of his runs, Pedri gets to go in the half space, which is a good thing, and we'll talk about Pedri later. Now, about Roberto, the problem is, let's say that concerning having more midfield and those the assists he got, that was wonderful. Thank you. Now, defensively, I cannot even blame him, because the one who is to blame actually is PK, because Roberto cannot do wonders against two persons at the same time. He cannot even do against one person. Of course, not against two people. So then we see a lot of times, and I mentioned that earlier, the fullback, especially Tello and then Moreno, just overlapping him. And the problem is, as I said, I cannot blame him, because there's a guy, he's called PK, who decides to not cover before. Normally, before there's an attack, you stop them from doing the attack, which I don't know what happened yesterday, but they decided not to. And now also great thanks to Dembele, who we'll talk just afterwards, who actually did track back, because if Dembele did not track back at times, Roberto would be raped 300 millions of times. So that's the good thing. So the only thing I'm confused about is the management. and don't really get why Roberto is starting some games and that's the others. On that one, I'm absolutely confused.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like because Dembele is such an offensive player, Koeman does not trust Dest to, play as a right back, because maybe Roberto can, transition better in those periods and provide better cover. I don't know what's happening, but these are confusing times for Barcelona, and these are confusing times because Dembele is actually fit as well. And, he has actually been playing a couple of games successively, even though, he's on the bench. Sometimes he has been that fit. He seems stronger. He seems more mature. And overall, what are your thoughts on this?
Basically, I'll say that more and more, actually, Dembele is impressing in the sense that many of us at the beginning of the season would never think about Dembele going that strong. It's not even the fitness level that actually impresses me. It's just the fact that, as you said, he seems much more mature. He seems to wait much more, and also it seems like he knows much more what he's doing. Before we saw a sort of really teenager type of level, and now we're seeing really someone who knows what he's doing and why he's here, and especially what you're expecting from him. And to me, it does seem that Dembele does have to play on the right. There's no on the left. He's been doing okay, but it's on the right that really he can enable himself to really do the thing. The good thing with him on the right, especially, and that I want to point out, is that because we play on the left, there's nobody on the right, which means that Dembele gets loads of spaces, and there's nothing better than Dembele fit and with free space on the right, because that's how his goal came. It's literally his pure talent that enabled him to do the goal, and I'm really proud of him, because I really feel that it's finally the time where we actually believe that it was worth actually spending all those millions on him. So I really hope that it will continue.
Yeah. People really, tend to hate Dembele for some reason. I mean, you can always blame his, fitness issues in the past, but, he's just a kid. And, with such a huge price tag on your name, it's difficult, especially with the media in your head. And I mean, it's really happy to see him, excel in this current Barcelona system, and just see him score goals, make assists, and play a part in our team. And what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so about his fitness, it is something we all hope for, that it stays this way. And he has been a good player in all the past few matches. And yesterday when he went down while his run, believe me, all Barcelona fans held their breath. Yesterday when he went down in the front. Yeah, so one thing about Dembele is that he's both-footed. So he's very versatile, and we clearly have had this used to our advantage. Yesterday's goal, everybody thought he would shoot it off his right foot when he cut it and suddenly created lots of space and finished it with his left foot. Another thing about his goals is that come out of nowhere. They are really unpredictable, and it's definitely very good for us. And we as Kool-Aids, of course, hope that he stays fit, because he has had a bad history with his fitness. But of course, people improve, and when it comes to Dembele, he should. We have a lot of expectations when it comes to him. He does have a high price tag on his name, but I'm pretty sure he will live up to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, these are kind of, despite all the situation with Ansu, Coutinho, and just like the overall situation of Barcelona, this is exciting for us, and I'm really looking forward to see what Dembele can do and how his time at Barcelona progresses. And now, from one Frenchman who had struggled with fitness, we'll move on to another, Samuel Umtiti, and also his Brazilian counterpart Coutinho. How are they going to be after the break? Do you think they will play a big part in Barcelona's season this year? We'll start with you, Kai.
Well, saying that Umtiti is back is saying like a stick is back. It's totally useless. Except it's actually an expensive stick. That's the point. Second point is, I don't. At the maximum, Umtiti gets to play one game without getting injured, and then he's injured for literally the whole hospital. That's the point about Umtiti. Second point is about Coutinho.
Yeah.
And that's where we actually can talk, because talking about Umtiti doesn't make sense. On Coutinho, my question is, of course, with Ansu's injury, where is he going to be? Is he going to be on the left, or is he going to be as center attacking midfielder? That's the question.
Yeah.
And so I really hope that he will continue, and it will really show how much Koeman actually trusts him if he gets the start against Atletico Madrid after the break. That's the question. Is it how much trust does I actually have? Because we saw Pedri, which we'll talk just about later, getting a lot of prominence lately, and now I think it's really where Koeman is struggling, is who should he put in the in the center, who on the left. So that's the question. But I think it's great that he's back.
Yeah, I totally agree. Umtiti is, as useful as a stick, maybe just a bit expensive, a bit of Louis Vuitton and Gucci, that's all. And Coutinho, I mean, we saw his confidence and we saw how he did, help us with some goals and assists here and there. But, he was tried and deployed on the left-hand side on a couple of occasions, and I felt like that was not useful. But we'll see what happens, especially with Ansu being injured. And what do you think will happen?
So first of all, I won't talk about Umtiti, because as the flashbacks keep coming back, it becomes increasingly harder for me to stay civil. Talking about Coutinho, he has had a very good season before his injury, and definitely he could play an integral role in the Barcelona squad. Now, regarding which position he'll be played in, I don't want to put any concrete comment on that, because I have seen very few managers as unpredictable as Koeman. Like, he is comfortable with both feet. He can be put in quite a few situations to create quite a few chances, or he might not be played at all. We just don't know with Koeman. And the thing is that he has scored goals, and he can be a reliable goal scorer in the absence of Ansu Fati. And let's see what logically Koeman should play Coutinho in the squad. He also is both-footed. He has the element of unpredictability, and he's a Brazilian, so I am a bit partial towards him due to my fandom. So let's see what Koeman does with him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, let's see what happens with Coutinho. We won't say much about Umtiti. And now we'll move on to Pedri's case. Do we play him on the left-hand side, or, as a central attacking midfielder? Where do you guys think his, ideal positioning is? Or does he not even have an ideal position? Can he play anywhere? What do you guys think? We'll start with you, Sergi.
Yeah, so the thing about young players, he's 17 years old, so he doesn't necessarily have a well-defined history that states that his natural position is this. He is versatile, though his preferred foot is his right foot. In the Betis match, he did score a beautiful goal with his left. And of course, he can be rotated as and when the club needs. And in my opinion, as a CAM, Coutinho would be a much better player, in my opinion. And of course, with the 5 substitution rules, we could alternate between Pedri and Coutinho on that. But yeah, what I'm saying is he's a phenomenal player, by all means. He can be used and should be used as and when the club requires something. Because with Fati's absence on the left wing, I think if he steps up as a left winger during the club's time of need, not only will he gain a lot of fandom, but he'll improve his skills and put a mark in the football world.
Yeah, surely. And we'll move to you, Kai.
I'll say that personally, I really think that it really depends what you want of him. If you really want these sort of turns and him to get a lot more involved, play him as CAM. But if currently, with the return of Coutinho, I think it makes more sense to have him as a left winger. I've explained it earlier, but the fact is that he creates these half spaces, and I think that's very important considering how we struggle against low blocks. I think that him creating space, these half spaces, is very important because it enables you to create space, and essentially, with his first touch, we can get a lot of beautiful combinations who could lead to a goal or at least a very high chance. So I definitely think that as of right now, I will try out in the next matches to play him as a left winger. But just as Sagnik said, I don't think he really has a defined position. I really think that his intelligence enables him to play on the two positions.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys say, especially about Pedri and not having, a specific position. He's still 17 years old, and we'll see what happens. Especially as a crucial player for us, and a special player for us. And now we'll move on to the final section of today's episode of Buzzing with Barca. We'll move to the 1 minute monologues. I won't be, taking a part or having a specific monologue. I'll jump off of your ideas. But we'll start with you, Kai.
So I wanted to talk about essentially the management of Koeman, because essentially at first we had thought that there were a sort of clear 11 with some subs, but as of now I think it has changed, because at first we thought that Dest probably would just take up Roberto, but as we noticed, it's not really the case. And the question is, where is he going? Because we've seen some man managements that many of us disagree with. For example, the double pivot of Busquets and Frankie always playing, even though they played well yesterday, we continue to always have the same man. And the question is, how long will he do this? How long will he actually think that is suitable, especially in March when we're in the Champions League? What will happen with that? The question is, for me, how will at some point we will see real rotations with danger? Because as of now, as I've said, there's this impression of having 15 or 16 guys who he trusts on the starting 11 plus 4 or 5 guys. And essentially what I'd like to see is that, will we ever see a change? Will we ever see some guys who can't really play a lot so far? That is, for example, as we said here, Firpo, would it be Alenia? Would it be Ricky? My question to him, or Pjanic, who only played 5 minutes, we for the moment, we don't see a clear pattern in why his man decision making is this one. Why is it not, for example, Pjanic over Busquets? Why don't we see more changes considering the depth of the squad? So to me, the question he will answer is, eventually from November to January, will we see a sort of change or a pattern of explanations of why his man management has been this way?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and like you said, I've seen a lot of the Barca fan base disagree with what he does, especially in terms of rotation. I mean, especially when you're a new coach coming into new seasons, one like this with back-to-back games, you expect the manager to have rotations, to have multiple people, not only play one person week in, week out, like Frankie, like Messi, and rotate them during odd times of the season. But it'll sure be interesting to see how this situation progresses. And we'll move on to you, Sagnik. What is your 1 minute monologue?
Yeah, I also want to talk about Koeman. He was brought in. Was brought in when the club was in shambles. All the fans, all the players were in despair. They cried on field, and it was a general state of helplessness throughout the FC Barcelona squad. So though we brought in Koeman, though he didn't work out at Everton, FC Barcelona is a lot different. Now, while his strategies may seem a bit unpredictable, and he is by all means very stubborn person, his strategies have contradicted with a lot of fans and sports analytics who thought that with the current roster we have of players, a more rational approach would be a 4-3-3 false 9, which would, with Messi dropping in the midfield sometimes, which would change into a 5-3-2 during defensive approaches. Now, we have seen that Busquets likes to drop into defense, and he did have a beautiful defending yesterday. He stopped a goal very nicely yesterday. We haven't really seen him using that. But of course, Koeman is a lot more genius than any of us are here, and we have to trust him at this point because that's literally all we can do. But yeah, he is unpredictable, but he did pick the club up from a state of utter helplessness into something that has been pumping out victories at UCL and considerable good matches at La Liga, which by no means is perfect, but I do think that Koeman has a long-term goal in mind, which he is stubbornly working on to achieve. All we can do right now is wait and watch, but these are some things I felt I needed to state.
Yeah, totally agree with what you say. All we can do now is wait and see, especially with the international break approaching. And all of this caps off today's episode of Buzzing with Barca, the Barca Buzz podcast. It was great to have you, Sagnik. It was your first time.
Yeah, my
with us
pleasure.
today.
Loved it.
And and you too, Kai.
Yes.
Today was a great recording, and thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye.
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 Bye.